Hi golfers, Rob Cheney here from GOLFTEC Singapore. In today's video we are going to follow on from last week's video where we started to discuss the head on the wall drill, the benefits of building the basic pivot with the backswing and the follow through. Today we're going to take it to another level. We're going to discuss the transition. Probably in my world the most important part of the swing, the time and the area of the swing where the best golfers get it right, the poorest golfers get it wrong. Let's get going. So in last week's introduction to the head on the wall drill, we discussed the backswing pivot, how to learn to make the right body movements in the backswing to keep your turn centered from the face-on view and to maintain this inclination to the ground from down the line. That was both on the backswing and then on the follow-through, teaching you how to move your hips forward, where they need to finish, and giving that definition to both sides of the swing. Today, he's going to talk about how to get from point A, end of the backswing, let's call it, to point B, the middle of the follow-through. And I'm speaking specifically about stopping here in this P9 position where the trail arm is parallel to the ground. This movement, I think, distinguishes, separates golfers of different skill levels. I see it every single day in the bay at GOLFTEC in terms of how golfers move their pelvis. The movement of the pelvis in the golf swing, not hugely discussed, somewhat discussed, but very misunderstood, I think. So today I'm going to share with you what I would call the most important movement in the golf swing. I'm going to start out, again, slowly describing this as I would do to a beginner, show you how I do that drill. Again, lots of dry drills without the club, without the ball, but we will progress to the club and the ball today, so we'll be able to hit some shots. I've got my wall set up again here. This is my makeshift wall with my noodle, so I rest my head on there. I'm just going to go ahead and place my hands across my chest and on my shoulders. So from that backswing position that we learned last week, I need you to get a little bit imaginative and creative with me here and try to follow along. I want you to try to visualize the center of your pelvis. That might be tricky for some of you. If you're struggling with that, just think belt buckle. Okay, belt buckle, and follow the journey of the belt buckle, which I'll try and help you with as I go. So as the knees change flex, the hips turn, shoulders tilt and extend, the spine extends. I've now got my belt buckle into this position here where it's pushed back, it's looking back at the camera, and I want you to focus from the front view. The movement as I finish the backswing is going to be to take the center of my pelvis, or my belt buckle if we want to use that as our reference, and I'm going to go down and forwards before I then go up and forwards. So what I want you to think about is how your pelvis and your belt buckle, again, if we want to use that as our reference, draws this soft U shape. It's like a curve. You take to the top. We don't just turn. That would be the belt buckle staying back. We don't just slide. Okay, that would be the belt buckle just moving laterally in one direction. There's a blend of movements here. And it's the reason I teach this slowly, because it can be quite complicated to think about at any sort of speed to begin with if you're not good at doing this naturally. So keep your head on the wall, backswing, which we learned last week. Now, from as I'm reaching the top of my backswing, my pelvis is beginning to go down and forward, so this direction. And as I reach pre-impact, just before I get to impact actually, I'm now beginning to move the pelvis up and forward. All the time keeping my head on the wall, and if you'll notice I'm in the same follow-through position that I talked about last time with my body. My pelvis is the most forwards, it's the most up, my legs are the straightest, and so are my arms. That's the benefit of learning the two ends of this first. You know what the backswing feels like, you know what the destination feels like. Now that we add in this transition, where you finish has already been defined. You don't have to think about it as much. You're going to be much more comfortable getting there. So that would be the start point. Take your backswing, take this pelvis, the center of your pelvis or your belt buckle. You're going to draw this soft U shape where it goes down, forwards, and up and forwards. Once you've done that for a few goes, then we can start to mimic the golf club like we did last week as well. So no golf club, but let my arms hang down now. So I'm adding my arms into this equation, this pivot equation. Up to the top. What's the feeling? It's the pelvis going down, down and forwards, down and forwards, up and forwards. And again, at the end of the swing, arms straight, stopping where the trail arms parallel to the ground, hips are the farthest forward and the most up, legs are extended. Then the next step is we introduce the golf club, okay? So again, just no ball still, just working on pivot, so backswing pivot, head on the wall, and then what does this transition feel like? Pelvis is going down, forward, and up. This will be, it's described in some quarters as this recentering or unweighting feeling on the transition. Crushing the can, it's described sometimes as crushing or pushing down on a tin can underneath your lead foot. It's really teaching the pressure shift and the weight shift that's so necessary and apparent in good ball strikers. Getting the weight left early in the downswing is really important. Okay, so that learning the downward force and the movement towards the ball, and then being able to bring that pelvis back up and out on the other side. Those observant among you will notice that this has a lot of connections to my prop video from a couple of weeks ago. The prop was teaching you how to get the trail side higher and extend in the backswing. This is really the next piece. It's teaching you how to do the downswing bit with the pelvis and come back out the other side. So those of you that had some success with the prop drill, you'll probably find this quite useful as well. So now we've got the club, backswing, transition, and then finish. Finish being defined in a very specific spot is absolutely critical. Take your time to do these slowly, build the form, and the function will follow. Head on the wall, extend, tilt and turn, transition, down and forwards, and then up and forwards. And then finally we can hit some balls like this. Again, I said in last week's video that I'll often set up a station like this of some description for students in the bay here at GOLFTEC. I'll also do it for some online students needing similar help. Controlling the pivot cleans up a lot of other unnecessary pieces that people are seeing in their swing. So a lot of arm flexing and limb lifting is really the result of a poor pivot and the arms trying to make up and compensate for that. So learning to do this is hugely beneficial, as I've already touched on. Setting up a station like this is something that you could do either at home in your own studio if you've got one, go to the driving range. You can organize your clubs, your golf bag in such a way that you could have something sticking out, head cover on the end, and just resting your head, having some awareness that that point is somewhat fixed. Turning around that stable axis from the front view and that stable inclination from down the line. When you're ready, you can go ahead and hit some of these. Notice the form again. I'm more interested here in where I finish. I'm more interested here in where I finish than anything else, pretty much. I know that this is a station, it's a practice station where I'm controlling the environment. This isn't how I would feel if I was on the golf course playing. I'm building the form to improve the contact overall and help me become more consistent in delivering that club back to where I want it. Extend, tilt and turn, transition, and then finish with the hips the most forward and the most up. That pelvis being the most forward here is the key. I mean, those are, couldn't hit it any straighter. I'm controlling my axis, I'm controlling the arc, I'm controlling the club's movement around me on the grid. And as a consequence of that, I'm beginning to build in some repetition, I'm beginning to build in some predictability. Predictability, that's what golf, the best you can ever expect is to be more predictable. There's no perfect, but having things work in your favor, knowing how to practice and build this can make things more predictable. There's another one pretty much straight down the line. I mean, practicing like this would build some real good pieces into your golf swing. And I can promise you, regardless of your current level of golf, this exercise and training in a way that controls both the backswing pivot and the finish position of your swing will absolutely improve your golf. Guys, thanks for watching today. I hope you found this video and last week's video useful. I think the head on the wall drill and the concepts discussed within these two videos is absolutely the foundation of good golf, good pivot, good basic pivot, backswing, downswing, follow through. The best players in the world move in a very similar way to this. We've studied this at GOLFTEC using our tour numbers, using OptiMotion. We know how the best players move, and whilst golf swings look different to each other because of the more micro movements of the arms and the wrists, the basic movements of the golf swing are very clearly defined, particularly by stack and tilt. Andy Plummer taught me this many years ago, and I've seen it in the last 10-15 years of my coaching, that the best golfers have the basic movements well trained and they're able to repeat them consistently. If you enjoyed today's video, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Get down in the comments and let me know what you thought about not just this video, but also last week's. I'll drop last week's video into the comment section as well, into the description. You can go and take a look at that if you haven't already. I would encourage you to go and take a look at the first video if you haven't seen it, because it does help you to define the backswing and the follow-through positions before learning this magic transition move. Before you leave today, please make sure you click that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And go ahead and share this video with one of your golfing friends who you think would benefit from it as well. Until next time, guys, take care, stay safe, happy Chinese New Year to everybody, and I'll see you again soon for another video.